The wind howled over the broken rocks of the outpost. Gray skies stretched over the ruined world. Once this planet had forests and rivers. Now it was dry, cracked, and silent. Only the outpost remained a rough camp built by humans after the last war ended. Liam sat alone, just outside the main tent. His rifle rested by his side, but there was no enemy to shoot. The war was over, but not the suffering. He looked at the supply crates stacked behind the fence. Each one held food, water, medicine. Rations came once a week, and they barely lasted that long. Most of it was counted, locked, and watched, but still rations went missing, small amounts. Just enough to feed someone trying not to starve. Liam didn't say anything to his team. He had a feeling, not a threat, not an enemy, just desperation. That night, as the moonlight hit the silver dirt, Liam saw something move near the edge of the camp. Quiet, careful, he stood slowly and followed the shape through the shadows. Behind the crates, he saw her. She was alien, but not dangerous. Thin, with large dark eyes. Her skin was pale green, almost gray from hunger. She held something close to her chest. A bundle. No, a child. A baby, barely moving. She reached out with trembling hands, fingers grasping a ration pack at the bottom of a box. She grabbed it and turned, then froze. Liam was standing there. She didn't run. She didn't speak. She simply stood, shaking, her baby tight against her body. Her eyes, those starving, terrified eyes, met his. She expected anger, maybe even death, but Liam didn't raise his voice. He didn't call for the others. He stepped closer slowly, holding his hands out. "It's okay," he said gently. "You're not here to hurt anyone." The alien mother took a step back. Her legs looked weak, like she hadn't eaten in days. The baby made a small noise, dry, tired. "You're feeding your child," Liam said. "You needed food." She blinked at him. Then, with both fear and courage, she pushed the ration pack forward, offering it back. Liam looked at the food, then at the child. "No," he said softly. "Keep it." He reached into his pouch and pulled out 2 more packs. He placed them gently on the ground in front of her. She stared at the food like it was fire. "Why?" she asked. Her voice was hoarse, like she hadn't spoken in days. "Because no child should starve," he replied. She slowly picked up the food. Her hands were shaking. The baby moved, mouth slightly open, smelling the food. Tears filled her eyes, but she looked away, like she wasn't allowed to show emotion. She turned to leave, but Liam stopped her. "Wait," he said. "You can't survive out there. Where are you staying?" She looked up the hill. "Cave," she whispered. "Many of us, sick, hiding." Liam's heart sank. "How many?" "Maybe 30, she said quietly. "Mostly children. Few mothers. No food. No medicine." Liam was quiet. 30 people starving. Just over that hill. No one told the human command. No scanners picked them up. They were invisible. "You'll come back tomorrow night," Liam said. "Come to this spot. I'll have more." The alien mother looked at him with wide eyes. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. Liam didn't answer right away. He just looked at the baby, whose eyes were half open now. Still alive. Still fighting. "Because I would want someone to help me if I had nothing." She stared at him for a long time, then gave the smallest nod. Then, quietly as she came, she disappeared into the night. Liam stood in the cold wind for a long time. The outpost behind him was quiet. No one knew what had happened. No one saw, but something had changed. Not in the war, not in the outpost, but in him. He didn't feel like a soldier anymore. He felt human. Liam didn't sleep that night. His mind kept going back to the mother's face, those hollow cheeks, the frightened eyes, the way her hands trembled as she held the baby. He had seen hunger before, but this was different. It wasn't just pain. It was fear. The next evening, as the sun fell behind the hills, he stood near the same supply crates. He had packed a small bundle, ration bars, clean water, even a blanket. He waited, heart heavy with silence. And then she came. She moved like a shadow, quiet and unsure. But she came. In her arms, the child looked a little stronger, its chest rising and falling. Liam didn't speak at first. He simply handed her the bundle. She took it carefully, as if it were made of gold. "I didn't think you'd return," Liam said softly. "I didn't think you would be here," she answered. He looked at her closely now. She was still thin, but her posture was stronger. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She had a reason to hope. "You didn't answer yesterday," she said. "Why did you help me?" Liam sat on a crate and looked out over the land. The wind stirred the dust like ghosts walking between tents. "I've seen too much death," he finally said. "Too many people suffering. Sometimes you just want to stop it, even for one night." She stood in silence. Then she sat down across from him, keeping her baby close. "My name is Elia," she said slowly. Liam nodded. Liam. For the first time, there was no fear between them. Elia looked down. "Your people, they said we started the war." "That? We attacked humans first." Liam sighed. "That's what I was told too. But we didn't," Elia whispered. "We tried to run. We sent messages. We begged not to be dragged into the fighting. But they didn't listen." Liam clenched his jaw. He didn't want to believe it, but something inside him already did. "I believe you," he said. Elia looked up sharply, surprised. "Why?" "Because you have a baby," Liam replied. "And no mother lies when her child is starving." She stared at him. Then, for the first time, she smiled, a tired, worn-out smile. But real Liam stood up and checked the camp. No patrols. No curious eyes. He turned back to her. "You said others were hiding?" Elia nodded. "Near the caves. They're too weak to move." "Can you bring them here tomorrow?" Liam asked. Elia shook her head. "Too risky. Some can't walk." "If they are seen, they will be shot," Liam thought. Then he looked behind the camp, the old cargo tent no one used anymore. It was damaged, half covered in dust and cloth. Forgotten. "I'll clean the old tent," Liam said, quietly. "At night, I'll bring blankets. I can't help everyone, but maybe a few." Elia stared at him like he was mad. "If they catch you, they'll kill you." "I know," Liam said simply. "But if I don't help, your people might die anyway." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You're not like the others." Liam gave a sad smile. "Maybe I just remember what it's like to be human." That night, Elia left again. But this time, she didn't disappear in fear. She walked with purpose. And Liam, he walked straight to the forgotten tent and started cleaning. Dust rose around him as he worked in the dark. He found old blankets, extra cloth, even a working heater deep inside. He fixed the lights and left food hidden behind crates that no one noticed. Or maybe no one wanted to notice. The next night, Elia returned with 2 others, an old woman and a sick child. Both were barely standing. Liam opened the flap to the old tent. "Welcome," he said. The old woman cried. The child crawled into a blanket and slept. Elia sat on the floor, holding her baby, eyes shining. "You're not saving just me," she said quietly. "You're saving us." Liam looked out toward the night sky. "No," he replied. "You're the one saving me." He didn't say how broken he'd felt before this. He didn't mention the nightmares, the memories of battles he wished he could forget. But now, this mattered. And in the dark corner of a silent war zone, something beautiful was being born. Not peace, not a treaty, but trust. Liam moved through the camp like a ghost. Every night, once the guards changed shifts, he slipped behind the main tents and entered the old storage shelter. Inside, 5 more aliens now lived quiet, weak, but alive. He brought them food, water, and blankets in small amounts to avoid suspicion. They never spoke loud. They never left the tent during daylight. Elia became their voice. She helped the sick, cleaned the space, and made sure the children stayed silent. The baby she carried, now called Leia, was stronger. Her small eyes followed Liam every time. He entered. He didn't know why, but those eyes gave him strength. But the risk was growing. One evening, a soldier named Brooks stopped Liam near the mess tent. "Hey," he said, "we missing some rations again?" Liam shrugged. "Maybe just counting errors." Brooks narrowed his eyes. 3 weeks in a row? Liam didn't reply. That night, Liam walked to the hidden tent with a tighter grip on his bag. When he opened the flap, Elia stood waiting. Her face was serious. "They're scared," she said. "They heard soldiers talking about someone stealing supplies." "They're looking," Liam answered. "We'll have to be more careful." She stepped closer. "We can leave. Go back to the caves." "No," he said firmly. "If you go back, some of them won't survive. You stay here. I'll handle it." Elia didn't like the plan, but she trusted him. He stayed that night. Just sat outside the tent, watching the stars, rifle across his lap. He didn't hear the drone. Tiny hum passed through the air. A red light flicked in the dark. A scouting drone, meant to detect heat and movement, floated silently above the shelter. It hovered, scanned, and moved on. Liam didn't sleep at all. The next morning, Command called a meeting. Sergeant Clay Tall, cold, strict, stood in front of the soldiers. "We've got movement outside perimeter lines," he said. Scanners picked up heat signals behind the storage units, possibly survivors or spies. Liam froze. Brooks raised his hand. "Should we search the cargo tents?" Clay nodded. "Tonight. Full scan. Anything suspicious, we report immediately." Liam walked back to his tent in silence. His heartbeat thudded in his ears. They were going to find them. It was only a matter of time. Dottie entered the old storage shelter that night earlier than usual. Elia stood, her arms crossed. "You look different," she said. "They found you," Liam replied. "Or almost did." Her eyes dropped. "Then we must leave." "You won't make it far," he said. "Not with children. And not with soldiers." Watching every path, Elia didn't respond. Behind her, the old woman coughed hard. The children huddled near the heater, tired and cold. Then Liam had an idea. "Let me move you," he said. "Where?" "There's an old transport container behind the con shack. It's rusted, but unused. I can seal it, hide it under scrap. If you stay quiet, they won't check it." Elia hesitated. "You would move all of us alone?" Liam looked at the baby. "I'll do whatever it takes." That night, one by one, Liam carried them, first the weakest, then the old woman, then the children. Elia helped carry one sick boy. They didn't make a sound. By morning, all of them were inside the old container. It smelled like rust and dust, but it was safe. He covered it with metal sheets and junk equipment. No one would look twice. Liam opened a small air vent and passed a heater line through a gap. "You'll be fine," he whispered. "Just stay quiet." Elia touched his hand. "Why do you do this?" She asked. "I don't know," he said honestly. "Maybe because someone should." She smiled, just for a second. "Then you're not like the others." Liam left just before dawn, blending into the early patrol. The sun rose over the outpost, golden light falling across the camp like nothing had changed. But everything had... Liam's hands were steady, but inside, everything felt like it was falling. Apart, the container was hidden well, tucked under old panels and junk parts, but drones had sharper eyes than soldiers. It was only a matter of time before one of them caught the slightest heat trail or sound. He couldn't sleep. Each creak outside made him think someone had found them. Each morning, he checked the container and left small bags of food, water, and medicine through the narrow gap he'd made. But then it happened. One evening, as Liam returned from patrol, a young Private Mills ran into him. "Hey," Mills said, breathless. "Something's going on near the old cum shack." Liam froze. What kind of something? Movement. The motion sensor triggered. Sergeant Clay's already on it. Liam's blood went cold without a word. He sprinted past the tents and supply lines, heart pounding, boots kicking up dust. When he reached the edge of the camp, he saw the lights. Flashlights. Voices. 3 soldiers stood by the old container. Liam didn't stop. He marched straight up, eyes calm, voice firm. "What's going on?" he asked. Sergeant Clay turned to him. "We had motion detected out here. Might be a creature. Could be leftover enemy tech." Liam tried to control his breathing. "This container's been dead for months. There's nothing inside." Brooks stepped forward. "Then why's it warm?" Clay raised his hand. "Open it." Liam had no time. He stepped between the soldiers and the container. "No." Everyone stopped. Brooks blinked. "What did you say?" Liam stared at Clay. "There's something inside. But it's not dangerous. And it's not your enemy." Clay's face darkened. "Step aside, soldier." "No," Liam said again. "Not until I speak." Behind him, the container stayed quiet. No movement. No sound. Liam took a deep breath. Inside are civilians. Not spies. Not soldiers. Just mothers and children. Survivors. Clay's eyes narrowed. "You hid them?" "I helped them," Liam replied. "You broke orders. You stole rations. You put this camp at risk." Liam didn't flinch. "I did what was right." The silence was sharp. Then the container door opened slowly. Elia stepped out, holding her baby in one arm, her other hand raised in peace. Her eyes met Liam's. She didn't speak. She didn't have to. The baby made a soft sound. One of the other soldiers lowered his rifle. "They're not a threat," he said quietly. Clay's jaw tightened. "That's not your decision to make." Liam faced him. "No, sir." "But it was." "Mine." Brooks looked from Liam to the mother, then back again. "You risked everything. For them." Liam nodded. "Because I've seen enough killing. It was time someone chose mercy." Clay said nothing for a long time. Then he pulled out his comm unit. "HQ, we found unauthorized activity," he said. "Human error. I'm bringing the responsible party in for questioning." He looked at Liam one last time. "You're coming." "With me." Liam turned to Elia and gave a small nod. "Stay inside. You're safe. Don't move until I say." She stepped forward, whispering, "They'll punish you." Liam gave a tired smile. "Then let them. I can take it." She reached out and touched his hand one last time before he was pulled away. Liam sat in the holding room, a small metal box with no windows. Hours passed. No one spoke to him, but outside. Everything had changed, because Elia hadn't just stayed silent. She walked to the center of the outpost and stood before the command tent, holding her child high. And behind her came the others. Old woman, the sick boy, the children he saved. They didn't scream. They didn't run. They just stood in silence. Together, and one by one, human soldiers started noticing. Watching and remembering the one soldier who did something they hadn't. they ate into something they hadn't. One who chose mercy. Liam stood inside the command tent, wrists bound in front of him. 2 armed guards stood beside him. Across the table sat Captain Roan, sent directly from Orbital Command to deal with the unauthorized sheltering of non-cleared Xeno lifeforms. He wore black armor and a sharp expression. No emotion. Only rules. You understand why you're here, soldier? Roan asked coldly. Yes, sir, Liam replied. You broke protocol. You supplied classified rations. You gave protection to unregistered alien civilians without clearance. Yes, sir. And you admit all this? Liam didn't flinch. Yes. Captain Roan stared at him. Why? Liam paused, then said softly, Because I couldn't watch children starve. The tent was silent. Roan tapped the table slowly. Compassion, he muttered. A dangerous thing on a battlefield. Outside, the outpost was no longer silent. Word had spread. Soldiers from other units came to the perimeter, looking toward the aliens who now sat peacefully just beyond the boundary lines. Elia stood tall, her child in her arms. She didn't try to run. She didn't hide. She waited, and she wasn't alone. Other alien survivors were arriving, led by mothers and elders who had heard of the human who gave without asking for anything. Roan glanced at a monitor showing the crowd gathering outside. His jaw tightened. You've stirred something you can't control. Liam's eyes stayed calm. Maybe it needed to be stirred. By noon, news reached orbit. A comms operator leaked footage Elia speaking quietly over the command mic, holding her baby, saying one sentence that traveled across the stars. This human didn't give us food. He gave us our future. The video exploded across military channels. Soldiers began asking questions. Civilians demanded to know why peaceful aliens were being treated as enemies. Inside the outpost, Captain Roan looked more uncomfortable by the hour. Orders were unclear. Pressure was mounting. No one wanted a public trial, but it was too late. Evening, a small tribunal was held. Roan, Sergeant Clay, and a representative from the diplomatic division sat at the front. Liam stood before them. Soldiers lined the edges of the tent. No one spoke loudly. Everyone listened. Elia entered quietly, carrying her child. Without waiting for permission, she stood beside Liam. Roan raised a hand. This is irregular. Let her speak. A young officer called out. Roan hesitated. Elia stepped forward. She pointed to Liam. He did not ask who we were. He did not ask for payment. He saw my baby starving and helped anyway. That is not weakness. That is strength. Roan's voice was tight. This is a military matter. No, Elia said firmly. This is a human matter. A soft murmur passed through the crowd. Liam looked at Roan. You can punish me if you want, but you need to ask yourself something. If our rules say helping a starving child is wrong, then what are we even fighting for? Silence. Then someone in the back clapped. Another joined. Soon, the entire room was filled with applause. Not loud. Not wild, but real. Roan said nothing for a long time. Then he stood and left the tent without a word. The tribunal ended without a verdict. No. Sentence was given. No punishment announced. The next morning, Liam was released. His rank was quietly removed. His duties were reassigned. But he was allowed to stay at the outpost unarmed, no longer a soldier, but free. He walked outside into the light, and there they were. Elya, the children. The elders. Waiting for him. She handed him her baby, now stronger, alert and smiling. She knows your face, Elia said. Liam held the child gently. No, he said. She knows kindness. All around them, the atmosphere of the outpost had shifted. Soldiers began helping quietly, offering bread, sharing medicine, fixing tents. No orders were given. No new laws were made, But the camp had changed, not because of war, but because of one act of mercy. Weeks had passed since Liam's tribunal. The war was still over, but something new was growing quiet, slow, and powerful. A change. The outpost was no longer just a military site. It had become a strange mix of uniforms and families, rifles and blankets, patrol schedules and shared meals. Soldiers, who once watched with cold eyes, were now helping rebuild ruined shelters outside the fence. They carried supplies, not just for orders, but for hope. At the center of it all stood Liam. He was no longer in uniform. His badge and weapon were gone. But when people passed him, they nodded with respect. Some saluted him, not for his rank, but for his courage. He had lost his title and gained something far greater. The small alien children played near the edge of the tents, running in circles, laughing for the first time in years. They weren't afraid anymore. Inside one shelter, Elia sat with her child on her lap. Leia was growing fast. Her skin was brighter now, her eyes curious. Liam stepped inside with 2 bowls of hot food. "I brought extra," he said, smiling. Elia took them with a gentle laugh. "You always do." He sat down beside her. She looked at him, serious now. "You gave up everything for us." "Why?" Liam thought for a moment. "I didn't lose anything," he said softly. "I just remembered who I was supposed to be." Elia looked out at the camp. "Others will hear of this. Other worlds. Other mothers. They'll know a human once helped us when no one else did." Liam chuckled. "I'm not looking for fame," she nodded. "But you made something stronger than war." That night, a message arrived from Earth Command. Not a punishment, not a warning, but an official broadcast. It spoke of what happened at the outpost. How a soldier's actions, though against standard rules, led to an unexpected peace. The words were cold military language, but the meaning was clear. Mercy shown in desperation may open doors war cannot. That sentence was repeated across ships, bases, and embassies. For the first time, alien leaders reached out. Not in fear, but in curiosity. And trust. Weeks later, a diplomatic ship landed near the outpost. Leaders from both sides stood under a new flag. Not Earth's, not the aliens, but one with open hands and a single star. Liam stood in the crowd, hidden in plain clothes. He didn't want the spotlight, but they called him forward anyway. Elia stepped beside him, holding Leia, now laughing in her arms. The crowd cheered, not wildly, but with something deeper. Respect. The alien leader, tall, silver-skinned, spoke first. "In our darkest hunger, we found a hand instead of a weapon." He looked at Liam, and in that moment, humanity changed in our eyes. Liam didn't speak much at the ceremony. He didn't need to. The image of an alien mother, holding her child, standing beside a human who gave up everything to feed them. That image traveled across the stars. Stories began to spread of soldiers, offering warmth, of families saved, of kindness stronger than fear. The war had ended with silence, but peace had started with a loaf of bread. Final scene. Liam now lived in a small village near the old outpost, now a shared human-alien colony. He worked as a builder, not a soldier. Children, human and alien, played together under orange skies. And every evening, Elia and her daughter visited. Leia would run up to him, arms wide, always laughing. She didn't remember the hunger. She only remembered the man who smiled and gave her mother hope. And that, perhaps, was the true victory. Not won with guns, but with humanity. Asterisk.